Welcome to episode 109 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo, but this time I am in miserable Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with my best friend in entire world, Lee Elias. Yes, we are. If you're watching the video, we are here in person together. If you're listening to this, not much will be that different except for probably our levels and everything will be completely even.
I'm lowering our levels right now. Right?
Lee is adjusting on the fly. I mean, look, Philly has been very nice, but today it is a cool, damp day. It's been raining. The temperatures dipped back down into the low 60s. Which I know is heaven for you, but for me, I was hoping for a little bit more warmer weather here at the end of May.
Go back to LA.
I will in several days. In fact, so next episode we'll be back to normal. We'll also be doing it back live on Twitch. But for this special episode, we are here in person together. Lee, how are you?
Thank you for that weather report, right?
Yeah.
And
now to Lee with sports.
Yeah. No, it's good to have you here, man. Looking forward to this. Thanks for being here. Actually, first time in an insanely long time we did not have an episode last week. We were very busy. We needed a break, both personally, professionally. Everything, but we're excited to be back now. And Geeks, what number is this? 109.
109.
Wow, we're kind of beyond the numbers now. Now it's just now that we've hit every milestone.
Yeah, no, for sure. We we've had some leaderboard interviews again recently. We've had like Lee said, we took a break. Good. We took a week off. The last time I think we took a week off was actually I want to say holiday.
It was a long time ago.
Holiday 2019 maybe was the last time I visited. So I think.
Well, we said we'd be here throughout the pandemic, and we did. Okay, so get off our backs out there. All right, looking at you.
We need a break as well. Yeah, no. So it was good to take a week off. We've had some folks who reached out, of course, making sure we were okay, which we appreciate.
We're fine.
We are all right. Everything is good. And yeah, we are back. We got a big show for everybody. We got obviously NBA and NHL playoffs.
Yeah, we got of good stuff this week.
Unwritten rules in baseball. We got some video game news. We got a lot of other stuff, but a lot of movie news this week. A lot of movie news, a lot of acquisitions, a lot of stuff of that nature. We're going to kick things off with two major acquisitions.
Tectonic level. I said this.
Yes.
Tectonic shifts.
Yes. The first one, this is actually probably the smaller one, but we'll get
that we called. We've been saying this was going to happen. I'm going to say it, right? I don't know how many people have been saying this is going to be happening. I know a lot of people probably thought it. Yeah. We've been pretty vocal about this for 2 years, and it's actually finally happening. So I'm pretty big on that.
Well, and again, we've also said it, the pandemic really accelerated a lot of this.
Easily.
For sure. And one of the ones that, of course, HBO Max, AT&T, they merged this past week, or on the verge of merging with Discovery Networks, which is a big deal. That's TLC, the Food Network, HGTV, all that home improvement stuff and whatnot, and they are going to be merging. I think Discovery ends up getting 20% or 21% of what AT&T is.
It's a massive shift.
Yeah, you're talking $40 plus billion deal. Lots going on there. One of the casualties of this, we talked about this months ago, but it might be happening again now for real, is that WB Games, WB Interactive Entertainment now might be a casualty of this, which we all know our buddies at Microsoft are constantly looking for new studios.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes, we will. That could be huge. If WB is up for grabs, and of course the licensing for Batman and for Justice League and all other stuff that will likely go with it, that could be a big acquisition for somebody out there in the game space. But yeah, this is a big deal that you're starting to see major companies merge or be bought out by one another in the streaming space.
Yeah, and I don't think it's done yet. I think these are they're not opening shots. We've been calling those, but you're going to start to see the world turn now. All right, mm-hmm. Streaming is obviously the direction we're going in. The movie theaters know it. We understand with properties. We're going to talk about an even probably bigger acquisition here in a minute.
Yes.
This is the way the world's going to be moving forward, and the smart companies are going to jump in now. Ray, we didn't have this on the rundown, but one company has done nothing, and this isn't surprising to me, is Cablevision. And they're in deep poop soon because there's no way they're going to be able to jump on last second, and I think that those guys are so out of touch.
Yeah.
That if you guys are in the New York area, I'd get out of there as soon as you can in terms of cable. I'm not talking about the area. You probably already left if you're going to do that, but you know what I'm saying. So AT&T, again, massive company, right? Yeah. So just tectonic shifts happening in television and media and entertainment.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that leads us into our next topic, which, of course, Lee teased up.
Massive.
I mean, this is probably the even bigger deal. MGM, of course, one of the biggest movie studios in the world. They're probably best known at this point for holding all the rights to the James Bond franchise. But countless movies in their catalog is now being bought by Amazon for $8.45 billion. I mean, and now
tectonic shifts.
Huge deal. Not only just that the movie catalog will now obviously be under Amazon Prime at some point, but that they have access to this world caliber movie studio to start doing their own original projects, which we all know that they've already been doing a lot of all over with a lot of different movies have gone there, and of course cartoons and TV series. So this is just further bolstering their massive ranks. And that'll actually lead us to another thing that's not in the rundown we'll get to in a second. But, like, Lee, what are your thoughts on this deal?
Look, there's two sides to this. One is it shows the power of Amazon, which nobody should have had in question, that they're buying up a major movie studio. But what I think about is what we always talk about with movies. Like, what is this going to do to the movies? Amazon is really up their game with Prime in recent months and recent years to not just compete with Netflix and HBO Max and Disney Plus, but look, they're buying one of the premier movie studios. All right, this is how they compete with Disney now, by the way, right? But along with original content, how many people have Prime already, Ray? This is a kind of an obvious one for me, but I think that Amazon, I would not be surprised if they start buying up movie theaters soon. That's what I think of when I see something like an MGM release, or look, here's the truth. We may be heading away from a movie theater type atmosphere, at least the way it was, where you go every weekend or something like that. Like, this might become a 4-time-a-year thing. Yeah, like the way things are going, it's too comfortable to watch at home. We've been trained. I gotta say this again. I say this every time we talk about this. I love going to the movies. I'm not anti going to the movies. I'm just trying to be a realist here. And look, Disney Plus before the pandemic was like a godsend for me as a parent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just tectonic shifts. It's happening. We said it was going to happen. It's not done yet. It's going to keep happening. And it's just, if you're a climate denier in this space, be ready because it's happening.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's inevitable. And like you said, I mean, it's one of these things where much like it's certain places of the world, the drive-in theater is still a thing, and it's kind of a quaint gimmick. Right, or even arcades. Yes, the barcade is starting to pop back up here or there, but again, it required a gimmick, and it's still not nearly as prevalent as it was during the height of arcades back in the 80s. Right. And I think that
it never will be. Too.
No, and it never will be. And I think that you're going to start seeing movie theaters are going to become kind of like that experience. I think in a lot of ways, where it's once or twice a year.
It's like airlines right now. Okay, people got to fly still. The airlines have mostly upped their game. I a little bit different experience than Ray. He and I have both flown recently. My flights were fully loaded in terms of amenities, plugs, screens. It's just I got a lot more than I typically get on an airline in terms of just being kind of comfortable on the plane, at least with the airlines that I flew. They had to adapt to get people back in the air. Now, they also benefit from the idea that people will need to fly again eventually anyway. Right. Movie theaters don't have that. But I have seen nothing on the part of movie theaters to entice me back other than, hey, we're playing old movies. You can come see Jurassic Park in the theater again or Top Gun in the theater again. And I'm not against that, but that's not enough. Yeah. That's like asking me if I want to watch reruns of NHL games. Sure. Yeah. Right? Where is I'm just surprised that AMC and, Regal Cinema and the other big cinema, there's been nothing to entice me to come back. Yeah. And then the other thing they're doing that's wrong is the airlines we upped our cleaning procedures. I'm like, guys, you're not getting it. You got to give me a reason to come there now and spend a lot of money, in that situation. So I don't think they're going to die. I got to keep saying this because people keep accusing me of that off the show. I don't think movie theaters are dying. I just think that they're adjusting, and it's good. It's an industry it's been taking a major hit here over the last, 24 months, and they got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where, I used to go to Box Office Mojo a lot, and they used to talk about there about 4,000 theaters nationwide. Yeah. And to me, you're going to see that number shrink by 90%, I think. I don't,
at least by half. Yeah. At least.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a thing. Like I said, I think it's going to become more of a gimmick. But speaking of the media universe and things going on, there was an interesting graphic put in the group by my good friend of mine, Matt.
Yeah, I saw that.
That I wanted to just quickly touch on. There's 5 major companies that are worth at least $1 trillion, if not more. The 5 companies are Google. Some of these aren't going to surprise you. Google.
Alphabet.
And Alphabet, right? But it's obviously yes, Alphabet.
What we should say. That's Google, YouTube, and everything that they have.
Right. That's the Alphabet, Facebook, and all their brands, which of course includes things like Oculus and whatnot.
Instagram.
Amazon, which of course includes all kinds of stuff ranging from Whole Foods to Twitch to obviously Amazon Prime and Amazon. Apple, which we all know, your iPhones, your computers, all that stuff. And the fifth one, which we talk about a lot here, of course, is Microsoft, which is everything they own, from computers to Xbox to LinkedIn. So Microsoft, those are the big five. Next, actually, after that, the one that's next closest is Samsung, which actually makes a lot of sense because of their worldwide reach with Android phones and also other devices. And I wanted to bring this up just because we talk about this a lot here on the show, and we'll get into video games in a bit. Is that Sony is about 1/10 the size of Microsoft. And this is just more ammunition for Lee's argument here that who knows what'll happen with the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6 if there is one, or what'll happen in the next 7 or 8 years. But again, it shows the power and reach that Microsoft has. Again, also going back to the idea that places like Warner Brothers are up for grabs. They just bought Bethesda for billions of dollars, and it was like a drop in the bucket. They just bought this new AI program. Microsoft has the resources that if they really want to, and it already seems like they are starting to do the force choke on Sony, they could squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And this graphic, which I thought was interesting, again, if you're not part of the Geeks Like Sports Facebook group, check it out. It was a great job by Matt. I appreciate it, him putting this up there. They have the resources to do that, much more than Sony does at this point. So I thought that was a fascinating graphic.
Yeah, look, it just affirms my point. Like, this is what I think, Ray. I'm going to take this argument even a step further. Not only are they not worried about Sony and PlayStation, I think they're looking at Amazon, and they're looking at Apple, and they're looking at their signature gaming builds that are coming. Mm-hmm. I think they're looking at that streaming gaming services that Amazon's created, and they're saying that's the future. That's the competition. Mm-hmm. Because Amazon and Apple, the company, even Facebook has a gaming system. Those are the future competitors for Microsoft. It's not Sony. Sony is gonna be absorbed. I'm telling you. Unless the only way Sony survives this, in my opinion, is they have to make a groundbreaking, state-of-the-art online gaming subscription service that just blows Xbox out of the water, and I just don't see that coming. Yeah, it's possible, but I don't see it happening. So I think that it's not only is Microsoft not worried, I think they're moving on. I mean, it like you said, and this always fueled my argument. It's not comparable. The two companies are not comparable in size. Yeah. Right. Like you said it. Like Microsoft could buy Sony 9 times before they're in trouble. Right. So it's just it's a cool graphic, but it if you're in the gaming world, again, if you live in the realistic world, Sony's in trouble in more ways than one. But again, I think the only way you see a PlayStation is if someone acquires Sony, and it might not be Microsoft. Right. It might be Amazon. It might be Facebook. It might be Alphabet. And then, the PlayStation 6 is really the Alphabet soup. Yeah. Or something like that. Or the Amazon adequate whatever. Mm-hmm. They'll think of a better name. Yeah. But the Alexa. Amazon Alexa Gaming.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Right now, Amazon, like you mentioned, their streaming service. Actually, I got to try it for the first time at our mutual friend Travis's house. Yeah. His apartment. The Luna, and their controllers, which are, but he got the proprietary controllers. I mean, and I guess another thing is that once the infrastructure gets there, and I think that's really what Microsoft is waiting for, is that once the infrastructure gets there for streaming gaming, I think that's what you're going to see, because Microsoft and Sony have both said that they want to start moving away from physical. The only reason why they haven't yet is the infrastructure isn't there. They know it's still easier for a lot of companies to or a lot of places, a lot of stores, a lot of customers to get their games physically still.
Well, we've said this before. We talked about this off the air, that Apple perfected the smartphone. It wasn't the first one to make a smartphone. Amazon perfected the online shopping experience and the subscription service. They weren't the first people to do that. It's a waiting game. Google was way too early to this marketplace in terms of what they were doing with their gaming.
With Stadia, Yeah,
it was way too early, right? And unfortunately, they hit the wall and they're bloody and then they're down. But then Xbox comes along and is like, look, you already know us. Check this out. And, it's working. So it's just... this is how these things evolve. This is how it works.
Yeah. Something that's interesting that thousands of people voted on. Sony, the official Sony Instagram, put out a poll last week that was how do you buy your games, digital or physical? And of course, this is just a small sample size, and the people who are on Instagram might also be people who lean more digital. They might have that bias anyway. Right. But the poll went 56-44 in favor of digital. is that more people are starting to move towards digital only and the ease of that.
The real question they should be asking is, would you buy a digital game if a physical copy was not available?
Right.
Because that's probably going to be in the 90s. Right. And that's the real number that matters, right? People still buy discs and physical copies of games for nostalgia, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to get out of the house to go to the store, they're collecting the cases, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making fun of anybody, but that's the real question is, if the game wasn't available physically, would you still buy it?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't bought a physical game in a long time.
No, that's very true. Myself either. Actually, it's been probably since I probably bought my last physical game right before the pandemic, and then I completely converted over to digital only because it was just easier.
You don't need it. It takes up space, and that's the other thing too. They're not trophies. People, you know, I understand. It's like getting books, right? It's like when you buy a book and you read a book, it's like a little keepsake, you know?
Right.
But they're not. The truth is, they're not trophies, and that, you know, we don't need them. And like, again, Ray and I are actually old enough now. We've been through records to cassettes to CDs to HD CD or Blu-ray or VHS. I mean, we've been through 4 or 5 iterations.
Yeah.
How many times I got to buy the Black Album by Metallica?
Right.
I don't anymore. It's just on my streaming service.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's next. We're going to virtually enhance the album so I can be in a concert hall virtually.
Yeah.
I have to buy it again. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Well, speaking of things that are coming next, a lot of stuff we mentioned that a lot of stuff. We mentioned HBO Max. We mentioned AT&T, Warner Brothers. This was interesting. This just broke. Todd Phillips has said he is on board to do Joker 2. He's on board to write and direct it again. This was something that, I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed to hear.
I am too.
Because he seemed pretty adamant that this was going to be a standalone thing, that he didn't want to come back. But, you know.
And he hated Joaquin Phoenix the whole time they were doing it, too.
Yeah, well, it's money talks and BS walks. And obviously, AT&T came up with a number that said that was enough for him to change his mind. And I'm really curious to see now what they do with Joker 2, because I felt that the first one was really just kind of a perfect movie. Not. I mean, I don't want to say perfect. No movie's perfect, but for me, it was amazing.
It was
terrific. Done. Yeah. And so I don't know why. I don't know why. Again, it's all about the money, but I don't know. I'm not too thrilled they have the idea of a sequel.
Here's my thoughts on a Joker sequel, and it's not a new tune. This is either going to be a movie that is so geniusly written and produced and edited and directed and acted that it's going to be like, wow, thank God they did that. Nobody saw that coming. Or more likely, it's not going to be that.
Yeah. And
I do wrestle with the idea that we cannot handle a standalone movie anymore in that space, right? I mean, here's the thing. Partially, it's because just as a writer myself, I don't know where they'd go with that story, right? I mean, I don't know where you go if there's no Batman or, you know, like, and again, they're just leaning hard on the villain thing now because Venom's doing it, and like
Kraven, we'll get into that later. Yeah,
but here's the thing: like Sony and Marvel have a deal that they're going to cross over in some way. We know that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing here. I mean, here's the deal: you can have a standalone Batman film and Joker film, but you can't do it forever.
Right.
All right, and that's the key. Like Batman has to come into Joker at some point if you're going to keep it relevant. Otherwise, you just make. Why are you calling it Joker at that point?
Yeah.
Just a psychopath that liked the Joker, right?
Yeah.
Even in the Nolan trilogy, you know, you did the solo one, then you had the Joker, and, you know, they were supposed to have another Joker after that, obviously. God rest Heath Ledger's soul. But, like, you can't go on forever without the other character. That's what makes them great, right? So, unless they do, like, a reverse, like, oh, you upped the game and now the Batman's here because you're crazy and so is Batman's crazy. We're all crazy. But sitting where I am right now, they're going to have to go to extraordinary lengths to make this a better film than the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm gonna see it most likely, but like, hopefully on HBO Max,
right?
And you know that'd be interesting to see too if it goes back into the theaters. But there's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot of people scratching their heads about this one, I think. So we'll see what happens. So always, of course, we want to know what you guys think. Obviously, comment below. But we got a lot also going on here with the DC universe. They announced that they're making an Injustice animated movie, and again, this just feels like to me that again DC doesn't know what it's doing. The DC animated universe, the DC animated films are always terrific, but I don't know what you're gonna get in the DC animated film that you haven't already gotten in the video game. And that's where I scratch my head. Unless you're filling in more of the universe, bridging the gap, or what takes place after Injustice 2, and then you're like, oh, this leads up to Injustice 3. Could be cool. That could be cool. But if you're just rehashing the beats of Injustice 1 or Injustice 1 or Injustice 2 or even both of them, to me, that you're doing the video game a disservice. I think you're doing your audience a disservice, retelling a story that we've already pretty much experienced in a terrific way.
We have. Maybe they're banking that other people haven't or haven't played the game.
I guess.
I will say Injustice is a very cool storyline. But, like, I mean, what are we doing here, Warner Brothers? What are we doing here, DC? How many, I mean, you're rapidly expanding the universe.
Yeah.
When we're rapidly trying to consolidate it. So I don't know what's going on. I will say it again, that Injustice is a cool storyline.
Yeah.
They did do a good job with the death of Superman and the reign of the Superman.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, you said at the beginning, Ray, that their animated films usually hit the mark. Right. But like, if they're not making it for us, they're making it for kids who didn't play Injustice, because that was what, 10, 15 years ago that game came out.
The first one. Wow, the first one now at this point is 6 years old, 7.
It's got to be more than that. The very first one, Ray's gonna look it up, but it's more than that. It's way more than that, man. I remember playing that like at the turn of the late 2000s, but at least I think I'm right. But anyway, look, my point is that there's probably a whole new generation that hasn't seen that game yet and seen that story yet. Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 were great games. Also led to DC versus Mortal Kombat, which was a fun game too.
Yeah. It wasn't as good, but it was
fun. It was just fun.
Yeah.
It was just fun to like have
2013.
2013. So we're coming up on almost 10 years here. So
yeah.
I just think there's a whole nother generation that didn't play that game, and they want to introduce it to them. It's a great storyline. I'm not going to give it away here. It's just a great storyline.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting again to see who gravitates towards that, because but then you got the time the animated film is out, it'll be 9 or 10 years that it'll be released. But I don't know. I feel that DC, this is what they do. They realize they have a hit in their hands with the comic book that filled in the backstory, and obviously the video games sold very, very well and were critically acclaimed, including by yours truly. And I feel like they're trying to get more blood from the stone, because it's all about the bottom line. And a lot of other stuff that DC's doing isn't really moving the needle that much. So it feels a little desperate to me, but we'll see what happens.
Look, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with them going after the bottom line. I mean, the bottom line is what runs everything for everyone.
Right.
It's just how you do it. If it's just a money grab, like some of their things have been in the past, it's a problem. Like,
right.
The reason why Marvel makes so much money is because they clearly care about the characters, and they clearly care about the viewer, and they clearly care about the product they're putting out. DC's problem is that they don't seem to care too much. They're just trying to throw stuff out and get the money. And again, there's nothing wrong with the bottom line, in my opinion. It's just how you do it.
Yeah. Well,
and look, here's the thing, Ray. Sorry, I'll tell you this too. Look, I have not seen Aquaman. There's another movie I haven't seen that they put out. All right, it's like I've seen Birds of
Prey.
Yeah, Birds of Prey. I didn't get through. I saw some of it.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen every Marvel movie that they've made. Literally every single one of them. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't skip Marvel movies. I skip DC movies, though.
Yeah.
And that tells you something right there. Like, that's a bad sign. But look, you see, make good content. Obviously, it's a cost versus what they get back kind of thing. The animated probably don't cost as much as major motion pictures.
That's true.
So it's just easier for them to make it. So anyway, it's all about how you do it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, and we'll see. And like you said, it just feels like DC is just doing things for cash grabs now, and that is the issue. And they have that kind of moniker now.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with, like, this is what I look at with DC is like when the Batman comes out, when Suicide Squad comes out, when Black Adam comes out. I'm very interested with those three films in particular, and how the Snyder maniacs will react to them. Yeah, especially if they're better, because I'll tell you right now, the DC fan base could implode itself if they're not careful. If Black Adam comes out and they're fighting, like, bring back the Snyderverse, it's like you're going to collapse the whole thing on itself. Yeah. All right. Not to mention, I've been following The Rock pretty heavily. I obviously don't know exactly what he's doing, but he has a grip. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, no, he's been showing his diet and to get like extra ripped for this, and he's super committed. That's super the future. We'll say it again. That is the future of the DC universe right there. Yeah. So something else that is coming in the DC universe's future, speaking of sticking with animation, is they have announced that executive producer of Batman animated series Bruce Timm
Matt Reeves, of course, the director and producer of The Batman.
The Batman.
And J.J. Abrams, who signed a deal with Warner Brothers. The three of them are executive producing a new Batman cartoon that'll be coming directly to HBO Max called Batman Caped Crusader. I am cautiously optimistic because it has Bruce Timm involved.
All three of those names work. Right. They all work for me. J.J. Abrams, it's funny. He was at the top of the world when he did Star Trek and then Star Wars Episode 7.
Right.
And then I think Star Wars Episode 9 unfairly brought him down a notch because he was brought in to kind of save that. And again, he kind of landed the ship like the Mandalorian did on that water planet when it flew into the water. It got down.
Yeah. Kind of an impossible task.
Yeah, I didn't blame him so much for that. But he has not been as revered lately. Like there's blood in the water a little bit, right? Or it made God bleed. So here's the deal. Prior to Star Wars, it would have been like, yes, give him Batman. That's a great idea. He's one of the best showrunners ever. Like, give it to J.J. Abrams. Right. Now people are like, I don't know. No, I think you give it to him. Those three people working together. And it's animated. Especially if it's over PG-13. That could be very, very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of folks there were rumors for a while that they were going to continue Batman the Animated Series. This might be the closest thing we get to that. Again, Bruce Timm is involved, which gives me a lot of hope.
He gets it.
Yeah, I think he more than anybody else in that team gets animation, and I think that's going to be able to make sure that the other two, who again very accomplished as well, but I think that he'll be able to translate whatever ideas they have and make sure that it works for this medium more so. Again, even though they're all executive producing. I think that Bruce Timm's going to be key to this because it is a cartoon to being it successful. But speaking of J.J. Abrams also, again, deal with Warner Brothers that he's working on projects for them. Also, he's a big gamer. He's always been a big gamer. He's been talking about games for a long time. And this is a project that's been kicked around for a while, but it has been confirmed that it is happening. To expect it. Who he's going to cast, how it's going to work, no idea. But we are getting a Portal movie. We're getting a movie based on the two games, of course, titled Portal, which were terrific. They were one of the best puzzlers, published by Valve. They were on Steam. They were on the Orange Box later with Xbox 360. One of the best puzzle games of probably ever, and a terrific story. And they're going to turn it into a movie. Again, this is a thing where I am hesitant because I don't necessarily know. I think you'll lose something when you turn video games into films. It's why we've never had we've had decent video game movies, but we never had a true super blockbuster successful video game movie, except for maybe Sonic the Hedgehog finally a couple of years ago. Set all kinds of records. But it's been a long, they're few and far between, and I worry with such a beloved franchise if this is just going to be what was it, like Warcraft a few years ago, if it's going to turn into something like that again. So JJ's got to be careful. He's swinging for the fences again, it seems, but I don't know if he can knock it out of the park with this one.
The thing with video game movies and why they don't work is because every single gamer has their own personal perception of how the story is supposed to go. Right. Because they've been given the choice of how to do it. And what happens is when you turn it into a film, you get constraints.
You get one choice.
Yeah, you get the constraints. You actually get zero choices. You got to follow the director.
Right. You get his
choice, right? Yeah. And the thing is with Sonic, it worked because they kind of it was a new thing, but it did what Marvel did, followed the canon a little bit. Yeah. To the point that this is fun. All right. Again, it's tough to get audience perception with that. Oh, this is fun and it makes sense. And they showed the video game world in the beginning, and I can see this, and it's got some cartoon elements to it. I get it, and. By the way, Sonic moving forward with Sonic 2, Knuckles is going to be in that film.
Yes.
That looks like fun.
Yes.
Fun. It was fun. Portal's not a game I look at and go, oh, this is fun. Yeah. So it's one of those things of I see it kind of like the Assassin's Creed film. It's just okay, here's a story from the game. Yeah. I think sometimes the best video game movies, I'm struggling to reference one right now, but they kind of take this line of hey, here's something you liked about the game and we turned it into its own thing.
Yeah, kind of like Resident Evil.
Right, right. Resident Evils were fun. Those were fun movies. But that's why they brought in Alice, and they were like, hey, look, it's the story. This is a different story within the story. Or, right. They tried to do that with Mortal Kombat, and let's be honest, it was fun. It wasn't Resident Evil good, but it was fun. Right?
It had its moments.
I know you didn't like the Cade guy, right?
I can't even think of his name. The main, basically Cage, the main character.
Yeah, it's not even Cage, but whatever. Yeah. My point is, it's fun. right? It was a fun movie, all right? It just wasn't memorable, right? There was memorable moments, as Ray said. But, yeah, look, we'll see what happens. Look, J.J. Abrams is a great director. I mean, he's Spielberg level, in my opinion, at least at the age he's at. We'll see what he does. I think also Portal's a title that not as many people played as I think people think they did. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think a lot of people played it, but I don't think as many people are familiar with that title as a Sonic, as a Mortal Kombat, as an Injustice, right? So like he could just make a really great story that people go, oh, that's pretty cool, and it gets them into the video game. I'll give you a good example. Witcher TV show.
Right.
I mean, again, a little bit of a stretch because it's not a film, but the Witcher TV show is great because it leads up to The Witcher 3. If you ever played The Witcher 3, and it's like you kind of know what's happening, but not a lot of people played The Witcher. Right? And like the Witcher TV show is kind of an anthology of Witcher 1 and 2 into a film. That did really, really well.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking forward to the next one, right? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. It could cause a whole new surge for Portal popularity, and if people can get, I think you can still get it on Steam.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's honestly going to be a film like that. I'm surprised to hear like, I'm going to make a film. Like, why wouldn't you just make a TV show like for Amazon or something? I don't know. Maybe he's got a contract. He's got to do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens though with it. Obviously, we'll keep.
Never got a Mass Effect film. They never made Mass Effect.
Yeah, you know what it was is because Andromeda as a game actually, and this happens sometimes. A game, you're continuing the game franchise can derail a whole franchise's popularity. That's why they just remastered and put out the new trilogy series again to kind of get people back. Remind you, it's like, oh yeah, remember when we did good with this stuff? It's like, Shepard. Oh yeah,
Shepard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but yeah, so speaking of, we mentioned before about some of Sony and Spider-Man and Marvel and a lot of stuff. This is actually going to be a fun one. We got a couple of stories here for the Spider-Verse. First one is that Aaron Taylor Johnson, who most of you'll know as either Kick-Ass or Quicksilver from the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has been tabbed to play Kraven the Hunter. Sergei Kravenov! Kravenov, I shall hunt Spider-Man! The greatest game! Yes! He'll play Kraven the Hunter. In a standalone villain movie, which it seems to be, that's how Sony is really kind of trying to build up their Spider-Verse and also introduce possibly potentially the future Sinister Six, because you have Morbius, you have Venom, you have Kraven the Hunter now.
Carnage.
You have Carnage, although he's not a Sinister Six guy, but you could do so much with Maximum Carnage. And I mean, they're already hinting at parts of that for Venom 2 with Shriek and all that other stuff. But like, it's interesting to see that this is how the direction that Sony's going. Again, I don't know if there's enough to Kraven to do a standalone film. Because especially he doesn't have the most. He's got a couple of pieces of tragedy to his backstory. There's a couple of interesting nuances, but he's not as deep as a lot of other classic Spider-Man villains. And I wonder if I just don't know. I just don't know if there's enough there.
Well, to be fair, we don't know how alone he's actually going to be. They're saying it's a standalone, but we don't really know what that means. And like I said, look, we're going to talk about this more in a minute, but like, I think what Sony's doing is there is a deal in place with Disney or with Marvel, and they know that, and what they're doing is building the villains up prior to the heroes.
Right.
But I think they fully intend on having the heroes in. So what I don't know is how involved Spider-Man is going to be at that point.
Right.
You can call it a standalone film, but Spider-Man could still be in it. I don't know. I mean, if I can transition here, they're basically saying that in Spider-Man No Way Home, we're going to get explanations for everything,
right,
or that make things believable. So, obviously Venom and Carnage and Morbius and Vulture, I guess.
I was going to say, we know Vulture does cross over at some point, and we also have we do have Mysterio. Right. Even though he hasn't been hinted at crossing over, but we know there's a multiverse.
Right.
You have the Sinister Six villains potentially.
Ock,
yeah, you really just need Doc Ock.
And Alfred Molina is reviving Doc Ock. So
yeah.
I think what's going to happen in No Way Home is the same thing that DC is talking about too, is they're going to unify multiple universes and make us understand how a Spider-Man could exist in this villain verse, right? Or that he comes from another dimension or something like that. Or maybe it's much simpler than that. But it sounds like there is a plan. That's what I would say. It sounds like there is a plan to bring a Spider-Man. I have no idea who it will be. But to bring a Spider-Man into the Sony villain verse, or maybe bring those villains into Marvel, I think it's going to be the other way around, though. I think it's Spider-Man will dive into his own universe and dive out of it when he's needed.
Right.
Which is kind of like the comic books in general. But
yes.
Look, Venom 2, if it's good, they're on to something. They're on a roll, all right? If they can do that, and if Morbius is good, which I think it will be, they're going to be on to something.
Yeah, it's got a lot of potential. It's going to be tough to... it's no easy task. It is a Herculean task for sure. But at least thus far...
It's the biggest gambit that Marvel has ever played. I'll put it that way.
For sure. And Sony, too, to be fair, with the Spider-Man character, instead of just rebooting things.
We've talked about this before, I think, on the show. I don't remember if it was off the air, but people have to remember that as awesome as Iron Man is today, Captain America is today, Thor, all the Avengers, there are 3 pillars of Marvel. And those 3 pillars are the Avengers, X-Men, and Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the only character... I think maybe Wolverine is kind of there, but it's not even close. Spider-Man is the only character that is big as the MCU on his own.
Yep.
All right? On his own.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like Batman with DC.
Right.
Honestly.
Exactly. And I bring up Wolverine, obviously, because they've played with that, Sony, obviously, and we know Wolverine can hang on his own. All right, but like he's got to hover around the X-Men universe. You know, Spider-Man has his own universe. Yeah. And again, it might be hard to remember. Before the MCU, guys, it wasn't close between a Spider-Man and an Iron Man. It wasn't close at all.
Yeah.
I mean, with any of those guys. In fact, I'm trying to think of any MCU superheroes that compared to Spider-Man. I don't think there are.
No.
Especially in the current MCU. Like nobody. Spider-Man's on his own. It's Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, the X-Men verse, and the MCU. Those are the 3 pillars of Marvel Comics.
Yeah, no, for sure. Completely agree. I mean, and that's the thing. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they pull this off. And again, we've also heard rumors of Jamie Foxx's Electro. We know the Lizard. There's all kinds of villains that they can pull in for.
Lots of actors are saying we're in or we're not in suddenly. Yeah. It's just which is what they want. They want to throw us off. So I'm actually I'll say this as a total side note. I'm actually wishing they would stop reporting all this stuff. Just make the movie and stop raising expectations. You learn nothing from WandaVision with this stuff when you do this.
Right.
And I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to go to Spider-Man and then all these characters we weren't in it, surprise, we are. I don't want to be lied to.
Because then you're disappointed, you leave a sour taste in your mouth, and
what are
you end
doing?
up torpedoing your own franchise for the sake of
just
you cut your nose off to spite your face because you've for one movie you do big bank on one movie and then your universe is dead.
Right.
So speaking of things that should just be left alone and should just be dead, and this is weird. So we had some more casting news this week. This was something that he's a good actor, but this is something I don't need. Timothee Chalomet has been cast as a young Willy Wonka in a Willy Wonka prequel. We do not need a Willy Wonka prequel.
We don't.
I don't think I really don't believe anybody does.
It's one of those nobody's asking for this type film.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I mean, look, it's one of those. It's like Joker. If it's written well, it could be a very big hit and a very big surprise. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If it, who's directing this? Number one.
Yeah.
Because if it's not a Wes Craven,
or you're gonna bring Burton back,
and he won't get hired right now. So it's Tim Burton's the only one I would trust with that.
Yeah,
right. And it's we're straying away from the musical. I don't know. I don't know if I like the direction we're going in.
Yeah, it's
gonna be Edward Scissorhands. I mean, that's what that story is, basically.
I mean, that was the whole thing that Burton tried to do with when he did it the first time.
Yeah, and they failed because there's no music. And it wasn't a bad movie. It's just you can't compare it. You couldn't compare it to the original.
You had a great cast and you had some great ideas, and they just kind of.
It could not compare to the original. That's what I'm saying. It was not a smart move to remake that film.
Yeah, so we moved from casting news into some trailer news. We got a couple of big trailers since the last time we were here. And speaking of comics in the Marvel Universe, sticking with that theme, The Eternals got a 2-minute teaser trailer, and it to me it looks really good. I am super intrigued. They've got all the major Eternals from the comic books who are there. Everybody from Cersei to I think it's Gilgamesh. I'm probably thinking of the wrong character. I'm probably mixing up all my mythologies.
It's great.
Yeah, it looks great. No, it looks fantastic. Seriously, they've got, obviously it's a star-studded cast. And they're going to explain, not only how they've been around for forever, but why they avoided humanity with Thanos and all this other stuff, and what now is happening that's going to bring them back. That's going to bring them into interacting with the Marvel Universe. And this could be a big thing that really kicks off Phase 4, and that's what they're kind of teasing, because it's with this, is that you immediately get Spider-Man, this is right after Shang-Chi, right before Spider-Man, and then you got Doctor Strange too. So this could be, honestly, probably maybe the biggest and most important of those 4 movies, potentially, because of the power level we're talking about here with these beings.
Yeah, well, we know that the deviants are the bad guys in the film.
Yes.
Right? So we just so, for anybody who needs a very quick crash course on this, the Eternals were made by Celestials. The only Celestial we've seen, we've seen 2 technically. Ego is one, and we've seen the Head of Nowhere, which we don't know much about who that was or what that was, right? But the Eternals were made. Obviously, they are immortal, or they appear to be immortal.
And they have abilities. They have powers.
Right. And in addition to be created, the Immortals, the Deviants were also created, which are their arch nemesis.
The failed experiments in order to try and create the Eternals.
We know that they are the adversary, I should say, in the film. Don't know how that's going to play out.
Right.
We do know from this trailer that they've been around, like you said, on Earth since the beginning of humanity till present day in the MCU. There's a quote at the end about now that Captain America and Iron Man are gone, who's going to lead the Avengers? So they've been watching. I think, Ray, the other show that plays into this is going to be Loki.
That's a
we're
good point.
seeing a lot of stuff now that's setting up, like again, crazy titles, right? So you have the Spider-Man's clearly going to be a Spider-Verse film, Multiverse of Madness, Quantum Mania, which is the Ant-Man and Wasp
Ant-Man 3, yeah.
So and Loki, Time Various Association or whatever they're called, agency. Something is going to happen to disrupt the greater equinox of the multiverse, and I think that they're using multiple films to explain it, which is exactly what Marvel does so well.
Yeah.
Right? So again, Phase 4, there's not a bad guy right now, a big baddie like Thanos, and I always have to remind people that there wasn't in Phase 1 either.
Right.
Wasn't until the very, very end of Phase 1 that they introduced Thanos for the first time.
Yeah.
All right. So what they're doing is Phase 1. What they're going to introduce is probably what tips the multiverse off. And when you do that, you open yourself up to amazing villains. Right?
Yes.
We've talked about this many times. The Krull the Conquerors that could come out of anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of villains that could pop up.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Honestly, if the worst case scenario is the MCU drops on its face and none of these are good, we had a great 10-year run, and I can't be upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, like Lee said, this could lead us from everybody from Kang the Conqueror to
Galactus
to the In-Betweener to all these kinds of great beings
X-Men
and characters.
Yeah.
It could lead us to X-Men. Yeah. It could lead us to what we've been talking about for a while here. And I think
here's the other thing too. Like, it's very possible they could take Tom Holland if they wanted to, kind of have him lost in the multiverse, end up in the Sonyverse, and come back to the MCU. Yeah. Like, and that would make a lot of sense, actually. Like, where you been? Like, around Sony, but that's what they could do. They could have all the characters spread out throughout different multiverses.
Yeah.
Right. And
you could do Secret Wars.
Yeah. We're talking about that.
You could have like all the heroes collected in one place from all the different universes fighting for survival and humanity and all this other stuff.
Right. Peace, justice, the American way.
Yeah. Oh, that's different. That's DC.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Nope.
Able to leap a tall building in a single bound.
Nope. They're still trying to figure out how to get him right.
Money is my superpower.
That's nope.
I am the knight.
Nope. Although there is going to be a knight in Eternals. There's going to be the Black Knight in Eternals.
That's right.
So,
that's a good point.
Yeah, so, getting us back on track. Moving back now to our next trailer. This is something that I am intrigued by. I am a huge, for those who don't know, I am a huge G.I. Joe fan.
Go, Joe!
Yes. Much like a lot of kids around my age, Sergeant Slaughter transitioning from wrestling into G.I. Joe is a big deal and kind of really helped bring me into the G.I. Joe world, and I kind of just stayed there. As well with wrestling. And G.I. Joe has always been one of my favorite properties, and like many people, one of their favorite characters is Snake Eyes. I love a lot of the Joes, though. Shipwreck, Gung Ho, all of those guys. But Snake Eyes has always had one of the more intriguing origin stories because he's a ninja who doesn't talk. And the idea is, and so now basically, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about the new Snake Eyes trailer that was dropped. It's called G.I. Joe Origins.
You may have missed it. Not gonna lie to you. Some of you may have missed it. I didn't even know it came out. Ray had to tell me about it.
Yeah, it's obviously being spun off from the other series with, or it feels like it's being spun off from the other series with The Rock as Roadblock
and John Cena.
Was John Cena? I thought. Are you thinking about Channing Tatum?
No, I'm thinking of John Cena. Channing Tatum was in that movie too.
Yeah. I don't even remember what Cena played in
To be
G.I.
honest with you, I just wanted to go John Cena.
I was gonna say I don't think John Cena was in the G.I. Joe.
Would have made
movies.
sense. Just saying.
He would have. He could have done Duke. He could have done Channing Tatum's role.
Could have done Duke.
I mean, especially after he gets killed in the beginning of the second movie.
That was so dumb.
Oh God, that second one was rough. I mean, The Rock did great with it, but
it was so rough. I forgot it, and I saw it. I know I saw it in the theater, and I've completely.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater too. I saw it with some friends up in San Fran.
Yeah, horrible.
But yeah, anyway, so Snake Eyes. I guess they're trying to keep this G.I. Joe franchise alive somehow. They're doing an origin trailer of how he finds the Arashikage clan. I'm probably not saying that correctly because I'm used to reading it in print. And
you're gonna get us canceled, man.
I can spell it. I can't say it.
You're gonna get us canceled.
The clan.
No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. How would they know?
We've been watching a lot of TikTok while I've been visiting, and just in general, but especially while I'm visiting. So. It's the origin story of Snake Eyes. It's how he becomes the Silent Master, how he takes his vow of silence, or does he get his tongue cut out? Or because it's always been there's been 7 different ways that Snake Eyes has become the Silent Master. Which, for those of you who don't know, there's several masters in this clan, and they take on certain characteristics and whatnot. And obviously, Snake Eyes is the Silent Master. Storm Shadow is a master. There's several other masters. I think Jinx becomes a master at some point down the line. Again, showing off the G.I. Joe knowledge here. But it's, I'm intrigued. I'm curious to see what they do with it. A young Baroness is already in the film. We know that much. So they are keeping this entrenched into G.I. Joe lore as much as possible. But, I don't think this will be as bad as, we've had bad origin movies before. I mean, if anybody you ever want to see the worst origin movie, go see the Chun-Li Street Fighter Stories Chun-Li movie.
Bad.
That was terrible with the girl who played Lana Lang in Smallville. That was terrible.
It was also procreation at its worst.
Oh,
yeah.
What a terrible movie. But yeah, I'm curious to see what this is. The trailer didn't get me excited for it, but it didn't turn me off from it either.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I just don't have much interest in that character. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean I think it's going to be bad or anything like that. I'm going to let you see it, and if you tell me to see it, I'll see it. Films of that nature typically don't work too well. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how they take it on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. You figure he's not going to become Silent Master until the very end of the film because he's got to talk throughout the whole film, I'd imagine.
Or it becomes a trilogy. But, I hope not too. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not super interested in that. Character. That's all I'm saying.
Like, I've always liked Snake Eyes, but I never understood the obsession with him because he's a character that he doesn't talk, and so therefore it's rare his personality comes across.
This is what I find, Ray, is when you have a character like that, it's better not to give an origin story, right? Yeah. Like, that's like the Joker. The Joker's never had a proper origin story, and that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, let Snake Eyes be a mystery. Yeah. Like, we don't...
Yeah.
Like,
even Joker, going back to what... Even Joker said that this is one of many possible...
Yeah, he's the unreliable narrator, which is when Joker's at his best.
And like I said, look, the best example is this. You saw what happened to Darth Vader after they started explaining his story. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I have a problem with Anakin Skywalker. I mean, those movies actually from the 2000s now are starting to become beloved again, almost like cult classics. Mm-hmm. But, the deal is a lot of people don't remember how scary Darth Vader was before they turned him into a little pod racer. Yeah, he was much scarier. It's the only time I've seen that in recent years is at the end of Rogue One, and we talked about that before Rogue One, how they need to restore him to the bad person that he is, and they did. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know if Snake Eyes needs an origin story. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think he does either, and I don't think this. If you're looking to save that franchise, I don't think this is the way to do it. Yeah. So, but speaking of franchises, moving into gaming, now this is an exciting time for games. A lot of announcements are expected in the next couple of months as we hit the summer season.
You can't tell what Ray's excited.
This is typically when E3 would happen. We get Gamescom, Comic-Con. Obviously, none of those events are happening because of COVID, but there are still going to be a lot of announcements, a lot of digital press conferences, much like last year. We got our Horizon Forbidden West gameplay trailer. But we also got some big news. Sega did a Sonic 30th anniversary event, which was terrible. They did absolutely nothing that anybody wanted. They said that the new game is coming in 2022, and they also said that they are doing an anthology. They're doing what they're calling Sonic Origins, which is the original 3 Sonic the Hedgehogs plus Sonic and Knuckles that they're going to I don't even think they're going to remaster. I think they're just basically putting them out there in a bundle at some point in the next 12 months. And so Sega continues to drop the ball with one of their biggest mascots, but we're getting Sonic the Movie 2, which does look good, and it's weird to say that the Sonic movie is looking better than the Sonic video games.
And the synopsis of the movie is that Dr.
Robotnik, Eggman.
Dr. Robotnik is going to team up with Knuckles to hunt and find Sonic.
Yeah.
Which is cool because, for those of you who remember, Sonic the Hedgehog at the very beginning of the movie, he's being chased by Knuckles' clan.
Yeah, the Echidnas.
Okay? The Echidnas, thank you. So it looks like they might have planned for that correctly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I like the idea of Robotnik working with Knuckles. Again, we also know how this is going to go. We know, Knuckles will somehow turn at the end and become one with Sonic, and Tails is in it too. So it's basically Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with. Which means Shadow's on the horizon. No, I don't think they'll bring Shadow the Hedgehog in.
They could. That's your tease at the end of the second movie with Robotnik having one of those. We know he gets those quills in the beginning of the first film.
It's true.
He could try to reverse and bioengineer that and Shadow, or we could get Metal Sonic.
That's true too. So there's a lot of places to go. I'm looking forward to that movie. Again, the first one was such a fun film.
Yes.
And what you're going to get with the second one. Look, Jim Carrey, man. Classic Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
To save that.
Yeah, mid-90s prime Jim Carrey.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, so we got that. We did get that news from Sega.
Sega.
Yeah, so...
I had to do it.
Of course. The other big video game news this week, Far Cry 6 showed off a gameplay trailer. Also showed off, gave us a release date, October 7th. This game was supposed to come out right around now, actually, but they delayed it several months, which, again, we say it all the time, a delayed game is delayed, a bad game is forever, even with patches and all that stuff.
People understand with COVID.
Right. So about a 5-month delay there, so it'll drop in October of this year, which is I think, good for everybody. I think it'll be good for Ubisoft because it gives them a big fall release. I'm looking forward to it as Giancarlo Esposito is playing the bad guy. And actually, we had a really good conversation, actually. Me and Travis had a very good... Our buddy Travis had a good... Were you there for that conversation?
No.
So we were talking about how Far Cry made the transition.
I was there.
You were there. It was at we had lunch together. We had lunch from 2 to 3, how they've changed the focus to more of the bad guys, and it's really done well for the series since. And I think they're going to do that even more here with Giancarlo Esposito because he is such, of course...
He's awesome.
An amazing actor.
Yeah.
But, of course, the other big news from the Far Cry 6 trailer is... Well, actually, there's two big things. First off, you get a weenie dog as your best friend.
That's cool.
You get a weenie dog as your companion, and then you get a Macarena gun. So the Macarena gun, it's basically plays the Macarena, and it shoots CDs of the Macarena, of the single, and that's how it kills enemies. You shoot the CDs at people like disc projectiles. I feel like that's more torturous for the player than for the bad guy that you're fighting. But
I can't find Macarena on here. I mean, that works, but...
No. So, the Macarena, you shoot the disc. I'm going to shoot Lee's phone if he doesn't turn this off. Licensing rights.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. God. Only you're worried about that.
Yes.
Come Macarena, don't know the words. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. Anyway, it shoots CDs of that. It kills people.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun and really annoying, or both.
Yeah, it could be both. It could easily be both. But Ubisoft always has fun, weird weapons, and that's another one. So, but Far Cry 6 trailer looked great. I'm looking forward to this game much more than I did Far Cry 5, honestly. It kind of went I go up and down with Far Cry. Far Cry Primal, Far Cry 4, Far Cry 3, meh. Far Cry 5, meh. Far Cry 6, I'm looking forward to. So there it is. That's our geek section for the day. Unless you have anything else to say about Far Cry 6.
No.
Great. Fantastic. So moving on now to our sports section. We've got a lot of stuff going on with sports. Of course, the NHL playoffs are underway. As we are doing this, Game 6 between Toronto and Montreal is about to get underway. That is the last round 1 series. We have most of round 2 set.
Yep. When you hear this, it'll be round 2.
Yes, it'll be round 2 completely by the time you guys hear this, or it should be. Vegas absolutely trounced Minnesota in Game 7 of their series. Vegas was the better team. That game shouldn't have gone. I don't think that series should have gone 7 games to begin with.
No, give Minnesota credit for making a series out of that. Look, it's kind of not unfortunate. It's just Minnesota keeps running into the best teams in the playoffs. It's just the way it is. But no, the playoffs have been great. Ray and I predicted that every game would be close in most series. The only series that surprised me, obviously, was Edmonton-Winnipeg. Edmonton
Yes.
getting swept by the Winnipeg Jets. I didn't see that coming. I knew it was possible Winnipeg could win that series.
Yeah.
But I didn't see Edmonton crapping the bed again.
Yeah.
They've got real problems out there, man. They have got to figure out that situation of why they didn't have a championship mentality.
Yeah.
And everybody has an answer. And the thing is, nobody knows what the hell's going on in Edmonton and why they can't figure this out.
It's 3 of the games did go to overtime, but Winnipeg shut down the top line for Edmonton, and that was it.
It's simple.
And that was it. Nobody else stepped up, and because of that, again, close games, but Winnipeg got enough production from their bottom 3 lines that they were obviously, not only did they advance, but like Lee said, they swept, which nobody saw coming.
That coming. I mean, a lot of people did see the Colorado sweep of St. Louis coming. That wasn't unpredicted. But what I like that we predicted and what we're saying, and if you're not watching hockey, is almost every single game is a 1-goal game.
Yes.
I think we are on pace to have a record number of overtimes in this playoff year.
Yeah.
May or may not happen. I believe this next round is going to be even more intense because you got the 2 remaining teams from each division. It's time to turn it on because the teams that are remaining, any one of the teams remaining could win the Stanley Cup. I know that's cliche, but I really mean that. Usually you say, oh, well, this team is destined. Any one of these teams could win. All right, you have Vegas, Colorado. That's going to be an incredible series. Islanders, Boston, incredible series. Yeah. You're going to have Montreal or the Canadiens versus
Winnipeg?
Carolina.
No, Montreal, Toronto will take on Winnipeg.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah. Carolina takes on Tampa Bay,
right, I'm sorry,
which should be fantastic because Tampa Bay won the series of Florida.
Carolina's
another
taking
close
Tampa
series.
Bay. It's just all of them are awesome. Then you get these rounds of teams who haven't played each other, which is going to be interesting too. So check it out. It's been really good so far.
Yeah, I mean Tampa Bay has. Tampa Bay is clicking on all cylinders. I mean they were again clearly the better team against Florida. Florida had some really good games and had some good production, but Tampa Bay it's a team that obviously they're the defending champs. They know what it takes.
Right.
They have a lot of talent. They got Stamkos. They got Stamkos back at just the right, and Kucherov back at just the right time because of course we don't know. Of course, the salary cap exemption for those guys. They were hurt the entire regular season. Both came back, turned it on for the playoffs. Right. Absolutely looking dominant right now. As they're rested, guys like Ryan McDonough are clicking on all cylinders. McDonough had a great series against Florida, and the Canes. Pretty much handled Nashville. That was a crazy series, though. That went 4 straight overtimes. Right. That series. The first 2 games, Carolina won pretty handily. Then games 3 and 4 in Nashville, both went to double overtime, and Nashville came out on top. Right. Game 5, back in Carolina. That went to overtime. They won there. And then game 6, they won in Nashville in overtime. Well, absolutely great series.
And to the Islanders, a lot of people didn't see the Islanders beating Pittsburgh. I predicted that. And we did. Yeah, and it's like, look, guys, we said it doesn't matter what seed you come in these playoffs. You're fighting teams you've been playing all year. You can beat them.
Yeah.
So you've had some upsets in this playoff year, multiple upsets.
Yeah.
It's exciting. We're not going to do it this week and probably even not next week, but I'm looking forward to seeing they're not traditional conference finals this year, but they're going to reseed in the 3rd round.
Right.
That's going to be very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because you create underdogs immediately.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fun playoff year. I should note too, they are not going to be giving out the Prince of Wales or the Campbell trophies this year.
Right.
Because this is not a true conference final.
Correct.
But the Stanley Cup will be given out, and it will be given to a team. And we said it as it's going right now. In the 3rd round, you will have 3 probably East teams and 1 Western team. The way things have gone.
Right.
We did that kind of math last night. Right. No matter what, so there's a big chance we'll have an all Eastern Conference final here, traditional Eastern Conference, or we'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's Winnipeg, Colorado, and Vegas are the only Western teams that remain, if I'm not mistaken. So there's only 3 Western teams left.
Right.
And 2 of them are going to eliminate each other. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, we talked about it. You could have, depending on how the reseeding goes, you could have something like Boston versus Carolina in the Stanley Cup. I think
or a Canadian team.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have an original 6.
Boston, Toronto. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it could be really interesting to see what happens
Boston
there.
Boston Habs would be insane.
Yeah.
If the Habs win the game 7, game 6 or 7.
Montreal has to, right now. Again, it's 3-2 that series for Toronto. It looks like we believe Toronto should close out Montreal tonight, but stranger things have happened.
It's Toronto. You never know.
Exactly. Stranger things have happened, so we're not going to make any prediction there. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting finish to the NHL season. Obviously, we'll be doing that week by week as that continues to advance. Not as many upsets going on in the NBA. No surprise there.
None. The big upsets, this Golden State didn't advance to past the
they choked away leads in both elimination games, right, and then did nothing. The Lakers are starting to look like the Lakers of last year. Then they got out of that elimination round. The play-in round, I should say. LeBron is finally healthy after missing a lot of the year.
He's having fun too.
And that could definitely that's the Suns did not know what they were getting with a healthy LeBron, and right now the Lakers are up 2-1 in that series. The only upset that might be going on is that right now the Mavericks are bringing it to the Clippers, and again, it just seems that the Clippers are choking away another great team, another great year, and throwing it by the wayside. And that's just what the Clippers do. The Jazz are rolling along. They were the 1 seed in the West for a reason. The Bucks are rolling along. They are about to sweep, literally as we are speaking, about to sweep the Miami Heat in the first round, which again, not a surprise. The 3 versus a 6, and Milwaukee is the top 3 teams in the East. There's a big jump off then between 4 and 6, and then a big drop off between 7 and 8, which is why one of the better series going on right now is, even though my Knicks are down 2-1, it has been 3 great games between the Knicks and Atlanta. Atlanta, people are saying looks like Atlanta's going to go all the way, or in this series they're going to take it away from the Knicks. But it's still a lot of basketball to play. This is actually probably the one first round series that could go 7,
right,
because the Knicks and Hawks are very evenly matched up in my opinion. So, Lee, your thoughts on the NBA playoffs thus far?
You left out one of the series, right?
And the 76ers are fine. They're rolling along as well. They are also likely going to sweep the Wizards. At least they're up 2-0 at this point, and the Wizards are...
The Wizards hung into game 1, and then the Sixers
game
handed
the
game 2. So, but again, that was not unpredicted. The Sixers are the number 1 team in the East. Ray, I want to bring up something.
Yeah.
An interesting topic, not to do with the playoffs. Again, the NBA playoffs going exactly the way we thought they would.
Right.
The NHL playoffs are not.
Right.
MVPs. There's a lot of talks about MVPs of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about 2 in particular. 2 candidates are Steph Curry and Joel Embiid. Now, I am a homer. That's why I want to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I obviously think Joel Embiid is the MVP of the league and not Steph Curry.
Right.
Steph Curry's team did not make the postseason technically.
Right.
They did not get past the play-in round.
Right.
Can you have a league MVP on a team that did not make the playoffs? Because I don't think that you can, and that's not me being biased. I would not give LeBron James MVP if the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, which happened.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for Steph Curry. I'm a fan of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can be league MVP if your team did not make the playoffs. I think that if they do that it's like, okay, we're this is a money grab or something like that. I think Joel Embiid is the MVP of the year. And I think that not that Steph doesn't deserve to be nominated, but if he wins that and his team didn't get past the play-in round, man, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't have the numbers in front of me in terms of stats, but if they're close, to me you have to go with the team that made it in the playoffs. I would say honestly, and I'm again not being a homer, I would say that Steph is barely a top 10 candidate just because. You look at Giannis in Milwaukee.
Right.
You look at you mentioned obviously Embiid. You even look at Julius Randle in New York.
Right.
Like you look at Westbrook in Washington.
Right. Absolutely.
And to me, those guys this year are all more MVP caliber than Steph, and a big part of it is that all their teams made the playoffs. Washington's going to probably get swept in the first round.
Here's the other thing too is it's the only reason why the Warriors got close to the playoffs is because of Steph, and I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
That he led his team there, and if he's on another team, they're 100% in, and that team's injured obviously, but. I don't know. If the NBA gives their MVP to a team that scratched or sniffed the playoffs, you're just buying into that individualism stuff even more.
Yeah, which the league, again, the league always does seem to be pushing that. But I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, Chris Paul. What about Chris Paul? What he's done in with the Suns, literally turning that team into. Again, they're having a rough series against the Lakers now that LeBron's back. But that was one of the best teams in the league, and it's almost single-handedly because Chris Paul got there and thought that team had a lead.
Well, and what fans will say is, the MVP is not about the team; it's about the individual. I'm like, well, that's the problem. There's great teams make a great player.
Yeah.
And Steph did it all himself. Maybe he's not the most valuable player for that reason. I don't know. I don't want to get too into it. Again, I have too much respect for the guy.
Right.
But I think it's a flashy name. I know he did well, but Joel Embiid to me is the MVP of the season. Sixers first place in the East.
Yeah.
He's had one of the best seasons he's ever had. I just think that's where my vote goes. And yes, it's partially based because I love the Sixers, but
I mean, and again, like if I was voting, to me, Curry's not even a top 5 MVP candidate.
Yeah.
I mentioned all those guys from Randall to Giannis to Chris Paul to Russell Westbrook to Embiid. All of those guys to me deserve votes more than Curry does. But that's me.
Right.
So moving on now into baseball. Speaking of MVPs, former MVPs and amazing players, Albert Pujols, after being released by the Angels, trying to make one last run at a World Series. He's obviously had a couple with the Cardinals, but obviously guys want to go out on top. Playing with the Dodgers now, almost actually got robbed of a home run against the surprising San Francisco Giants last night. Would have been a game-winning home run. Mike Tauchman, former Yankee, because Brian Cashman's garbage, traded away a great outfielder to San Francisco. Robbed Pujols of a home run that allowed San Francisco to win the game in the 10th. But Pujols Albert Pujols is a Dodger. A lot of people had some blowback with this because, again, he's not somebody who can replay the field much anymore. He's kind of more of at this point, kind of a pinch hitting role or kind of a backup. But, of course, the Dodgers also, and this is why you make a move like this, having some injuries and having depth on the infield isn't a bad thing. Lee, what are your thoughts about Albert Pujols probably retiring as an LA Dodger?
Everyone's a GM, man. Everyone's a GM, and they know what's best GM. For a team. Everybody's a GM, Ray. You know, like...
I'm a good one.
Like, here's the deal, man. Like, there's so many reasons why you bring a guy like that in. Respect, obviously, but leadership in the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. Guy's won before. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the best of all time. Mm-hmm. You know, people forget that, professional athletes get starstruck, too. You're an LA Dodger, right? This guy walks in the room. It's Albert Pujols. Yeah. Doesn't matter that he's old. It's Albert Pujols. Like, what do you think that does to a locker room? It could completely lift the locker room up. Last I checked, the Angels aren't really amazing. So,
no.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't see any problems with this. The only problem is if you get to the series, you get to a big playoff game, and you put him in instead of a guy that should be in. That's it. That's the only time it's a problem. And, you know, the guy, he's not Albert Pujols 10 years ago. He's an aged Albert Pujols. Manage him that way. What's the problem? What's the problem with that?
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. The Angels are underperforming. The only good story for them is they might have, with all their injuries, is Trout's hurt again. What a shame. I mean, Trout to me is one of the best players in the game, but he can never stay healthy, and that's a lot of guys' stories, and that's a pandemic in baseball. But Shohei Ohtani, he talking about guys who might be an MVP candidate. Obviously, the first legit two-way player in baseball in probably 100 years.
Easily.
Hitting home runs, was leading the league at one point in home runs. And also regularly pitching 5 innings every 5th day and doing a pretty good job of it. The dude is legit. This is what he was when he came over a couple of years ago from Japan.
Yeah, if his name wasn't that, he'd be far more in conversations about that we're talking
all
about.
Kinds of awards and stuff.
Right,
yeah,
but because people can't pronounce his name, he's not. But like, I'll give you honestly, ESPN, SportsCenter. A lot of sports journalists have actually gone out of the way to say, hey, you need to pay attention to this. This hasn't happened in 100 years.
Yeah.
It's still not getting real news.
It's not getting enough buzz.
It's
no,
unbelievable when you think about it. But that is incredible. I mean, really, Babe Ruth's the last one you could think of that did this.
Right.
In my opinion.
It's
right?
true.
I mean,
it's true. That hit home runs like him and also pitched.
Right.
Yeah, no, he truly Ruthian. In how he approaches the game, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I think that especially because baseball gets off to a slow start normally anyway, I think if he's still doing this by the All-Star game, that's when you're going to start to see people really start to talk about it. Also, and also again, that's when baseball really starts to pick up because then you won't have basketball, hockey around to sometimes take away from the headlines.
Football's at a whisper.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that. That's another great story.
Say his name again.
Shohei Ohtani.
Remember that name.
Yeah.
If you're listening to
So that's terrific. Other good things depending on who you ask, other good things in baseball or bad things in baseball. 6 no-hitters already in the game this year, including by New York Yankee Corey Kluber, first Yankee to do that since 1999 when David Cone threw a perfect game. Did it against Texas. That's the second time this year that Texas, also Cleveland twice and Seattle twice, these three teams have been no-hit twice this year.
It's incredible.
But now there's a lot of talk about changing the game, lowering the pitching mound again for the first time since 1968, moving the pitching mound back a foot or two. Or maybe the fact that maybe Manfred shouldn't have deadened the ball in the offseason. Freaking idiot. But Lee, there's a talk here about the offense is at an all-time historic low. Strikeouts are at an all-time high. The batting average is at an all-time low. Like, literally, it is the worst year for offense in baseball, the last 50 years of baseball.
Right.
Are these 6 no-hitters a result of that? Is it bad that there's so many no-hitters being thrown? Or is it just part of a larger trend in baseball that too many guys are swinging for the damn fence?
Look, the athlete is evolving, and the game is not. It is another of a million reasons why baseball, I should say Major League Baseball, is a problem for me. Because they can't make up their mind on what they want more, and they're punishing excellence. 6 no-hitters, pitchers are getting better. I don't think it has anything to do with deadened baseballs or other things. The pitchers are getting better than they've ever been. Ever. All right? So what do you want? You want better defense? You want better offense? You want a happy medium? Figure it out and start implementing the direction you want to go in. But, like, the athlete's evolving. The game is not. This was inevitable. The game did not change fast enough. All right? And, like, here's the deal, man. The NFL figured this out a long time ago when the West Coast offense came in and everybody saw how exciting it was. They started making rules to protect the quarterback so they can make longer passes, deeper passes, to the dismay of a lot of football fans. But you know what? It sold, and football became the biggest sport in the country for a while, all right? Still is. So my point is, like, to all the traditionalists that love the run game, that's fine. The truth is the long ball sells. The game is more exciting, and the quarterback position and the defensive positioning had to adapt to that. Baseball can't make up its mind.
Yeah.
I don't think no-hitters are bad for baseball. They're very rare, typically.
Yes.
Right? I don't think home runs are bad for baseball.
Yeah.
All right? I don't think fielding is bad for baseball, but you got to figure it out and figure out the direction and let the game grow around it. The truth is these pitchers are better than they've ever been, right? You agree with that?
Yes.
They're better than they've ever been, okay? So you got to look at it like this. You don't want to hold them back from being great.
Right.
You want to enhance the game. Now, I don't know if moving them back a foot is the answer here. Maybe batters need to evolve.
Yeah.
All right? I don't know. Again, baseball, figure your own damn sport out.
Yeah.
And lead and find a direction. I'm so tired of this. And, like, I get really tired of baseball fans defending the MLB. And, like, oh, you just hate baseball. I love baseball. I don't like the direction the MLB is going. Those are 2 different things.
Yeah. Well, and I think that again goes back to the thing where, and this is something that drives me nuts about the game, is that home runs are sexy. They've been, ever since the home run race of '98 between McGwire and Sosa, everybody's started swinging for the fences more. It helped lead to bigger contracts. It helps guys get paid. The problem is that also drives the strikeout rate up. It drives walks up. It slows the game down in a bad way.
Evolve the damn tactics of the game. Where's the coaches that are going to evolve?
Well, that's the thing. Drop a bunt. Get a speedster. Do a hit and run.
I'm tired of it.
The thing is that you don't even need to evolve the game. You just need to go back to the old ways a little bit.
That's
from
evolving.
1968 to 1998.
That's still evolving to me. Change something up. One of these managers is going to figure out a way to do it because they're all horny for sabermetrics right now.
I think that's part of the problem too, actually.
Like, one of these guys is going to figure out how to change it up. They're going to win the World Series, and then it's going to turn the other way again. This is typical in sport. But, yeah, baseball is just killing me, Ray. They're killing me. I'm tired of it. Like I said, another thing I was talking about with my brother was, a big problem. I don't know if it's a problem. An outcome of this, right, is that the MLB and the MLBPA have one of maybe the closest knit labor negotiation deals in pro sports.
Mm-hmm.
You think of the NFL and the NFLPA, NHL, NHLPA, even the NBA in a lot of ways. Their player association is kind of miles apart. Like, there's a big difference. Yeah. Big distance, excuse me. When it comes to the Major League Baseball players in the league, they're too close, right? Yeah. That's why the Astros didn't get punished.
Yep.
Because they're too close.
Yep.
Right? Because they want to do what's best for everything.
Right.
I think it's another example of, like, it's not going to come from the MLB or the MLBPA because they don't care. It's going to come from a manager who wants to break through the wall, a Billy Bean kind of GM, something like that. Someone's going to figure out how to play the game a little bit differently, and they're going to win one day. But until then, man, you're going to get this crap. And there's nothing wrong with no-hitters. It is a little weird that it's against the same 3 teams.
Yeah.
but nothing wrong with no-hitters. Nothing wrong with that. Pitchers are getting better, man. Evolve with the times. I'm so tired of the MLB not figuring that out.
Speaking of evolution, something that's been coming up a lot lately again has been the unwritten rules of baseball.
Yeah, it's another one.
Tony La Russa, almost 80 years old, of course, came out of retirement to take over the White Sox, a team that it was where he got his coaching start actually back in the 70s. And really came out because it's a team ready-made for the playoffs. Even with all the injuries they've had, they are in first place in the American League Central. They are a very good team, even again with their injuries to guys like Eloy Jimenez and whatnot. They've had some young stars come up in the case of Yermin Mercedes, who is a catcher / DH. Rookie right now who's leading the league in batting average. Kid's hitting 350. But part of that was the White Sox were blowing out the underperforming Minnesota Twins. Everyone thought the Twins would be much better than they are after the last few years, and for some reason they are underperforming. They were getting blown out again, and Willens Astudillo, who are backup catcher, who's done this a couple times now this year, has actually pitched pretty well, comes in and they throw garbage, right? They call garbage pitches. They're throwing 60-mile-an-hour fastballs. It's a position player pitching to save a pitcher's arm. Baseball, of course, lacks this rule a few years ago, and I think for the good of the game, it's fun. It keeps guys involved. It's fun. It's Anthony Rizzo struck out Freddie Freeman, the Cubs against the Braves. It was fun earlier this year because those guys are like best friends. And so sometimes it keeps those blowout games still somewhat interesting. But Mercedes took Astudillo deep. 3-0 pitch. It was a 3-0 pitch against a garbage pitcher. Obviously, he's not a rude because he's not a pitcher. They call it garbage, a garbage pitch. But anyway, and Tony La Russa called out his own player, said this will be handled in our locker room, and then applauded Duffy of the Twins for throwing behind his own player. I'm sorry, but I don't care what your unwritten rules are. You stand with your players, and last time I checked, there's no rule against swinging at a 3-0 pitch no matter who's on the mound and hitting a home run. So that's kind of ridiculous and kind of shows that maybe that Tony La Russa, the game's... Again, you can't argue the guy's getting results this year in Chicago, but maybe the game in certain ways has passed you by when you're throwing your own player under the bus for just swinging the bat. Didn't show anybody up, didn't do anything like that, although maybe they'll say, well, he did show him up because he swung at a 3-0 pitch. But it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion.
Here's the deal, is that the kid's a rookie. He's got to get his contracts. He's going to get another home run. They're pitching garbage, as you said, which is not acceptable to me. Like I know you said it might be more entertaining, man. That's ridiculous, all right? Like, play better. Team needs to play better. Yeah. Second thing is that I'm not going to say it was right for him to swing or not. I'm going to say that he chose to swing. And that if there's repercussions to that from the team the next game, there's repercussions. You got to live with that. If you get beaned or, or you get struck out because you motivated them, let the players police themselves. Tony La Russa, no need for him to come out and do that. You're going to create a rift in your locker room. Of course, the media took it and ran with it. Yeah. Because that's another thing about him being older. He probably doesn't realize you say this, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
All right?
He doesn't know about Twitter.
Yeah, we'll take care of it in our locker room. Like, that was dumb. Take care of it. You don't have to tell everybody about it.
Yeah. And then applauding the other pitcher. That was...
You're going to lose your locker room that way. So I'm sure they did take care of it. I'm sure it's professional. But, like, man, there is no rule. I hate unwritten rules. All right? Yeah. If Mercedes chose to hit the ball out of the park, so you have to live with the consequences of that, whatever they are. And that thing is that baseball took it away by having this problem. Right? Stupid. Just whatever, man. I just unwritten rules piss me off. You play to win the game. That's that period. I don't care if you're winning or not. You play to win the game.
Well, and speaking of playing to win the game, and this is a case where Manny Machado has the reputation of sometimes being a dirty base runner, a dirty player or whatnot. And this was interesting because technically, by the letter of the law, everything he did was completely legal. You are allowed to slide or whatever, do anything you need to get from first base to second base to third base, as long as you are. And you are allowed to, if the fielder gets in your way, you are allowed to get around them or go through them or whatever in any way possible. And so Machado, it was a slow ground ball. The Cardinal was going to tag him. So instead of letting him tag him, he slid into him halfway through between first and second. Nowhere near second base bag, nowhere close, but it also broke up the double play. He was out. Obviously, he did get tagged, but it broke up the double play. Right. And a lot of people were like, oh, he could have broken his leg. He could have taken him out. He could have really hurt him. He's like, yes, that is possible. That's part of the reason why they changed the rule at home plate about home plate collisions with catchers. But this rule is still in the game, and this rule is still technically allowed, and this is still, by the letter of the law, Machado did nothing wrong. There was no repercussions for it. Nobody threw behind him. I believe after this was just kind of one and done.
If you don't like the rule, change the rule.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Exactly.
You play to win the game, and he has to live with the consequences. If he does hurt a guy and they throw at him, that's the consequence. I don't understand the.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is a hockey mentality, right? Like, if I cross-check someone, they're probably going to cross-check me. If I punch someone, they're going to punch me back. You let the players do the policing.
Yeah.
And if it's illegal, there's a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't understand baseball's, it's an unwritten rule. Screw unwritten rules. All right?
Well, and that's the thing. That's it. I mean, the thing is that, like, in this case, it was actually a written rule that what he did was okay.
Right.
Like, and again, if you don't like that, then why is it in the rule book to begin with?
Change the rules. That's it.
It's
that simple. If it's not good, change the rule. And they may do that. And if they do that, that's fine with by my too. All right? Like, that's a rule they could change, in my opinion.
That's a rule they could easily change.
Yeah.
Like, and that's one of those things where...
Yeah, if the umpire deems there was intent to injure, you're out of the game.
I mean,
whatever.
and that
It's
too.
simple.
I mean, and honestly, I give Machado credit for even knowing that rule, because I didn't. Like,
right.
You know, so good. I don't know. He breaking up a double play. That, to me, that's playing hard and trying to,
right.
keep the inning alive for your team.
You wouldn't be hearing about this in the 70s, the 60s.
No, exactly. Exactly. And if something like that happened in the 70s and 60s, you know what ends up happening is that usually you try that again in the baseline, and there's you guy purposely clotheslines you or something. Like, right. Sad as it is, you get like an Albert Bell play back in the 90s. Like, that was a whole different story. But anyway, one other baseball story before moving on, just because this could be exciting for some folks. Willy Adames was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. They desperately needed a shortstop. They sent a couple of relievers back to Tampa Bay. But this opens up the path for baseball's top-rated prospect, Wander Franco, to now finally get moved up to the majors. He'll take over at shortstop for Tampa Bay, I believe, shortly if he hasn't already. So maybe that could be a good story for baseball. It's always good when the top-rated guy makes it to the bigs, makes it to the show. I think it was also a good trade for both teams. Tampa Bay needed some more relievers. Milwaukee needed a shortstop.
Everybody wins.
So that's an interesting one. So that's something to keep an eye on. We'll see if Franco lives up to the hype. Moving on now to football. One quick football story. It's a big deal just because he is one of the greatest scorers of all time in terms of the league, in terms of points.
I mean, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time.
Right. And of course, a big reason why the Patriots won their first 3 Super Bowls, Adam Vinatieri has decided to hang up his cleats.
And the Colts too, I believe, right? Was he on that Colts team when they won?
I do not think he was on the Colts when they won, but he was a big part of their recent playoff pushes in recent years. Right. Adam Vinatieri, one of the greatest kickers in NFL history, finally retires. To me, easily a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. They're always funny about kickers, so he might not be first ballot kind of thing, but he'll get there.
He will be. He should be.
He should be.
Yeah.
He should be. But to me, the Football Hall of Fame is a little different than other Hall of Fames in terms of the voting and how guys advance and stuff, so it's a little weird. But we'll see when that happens, but it's a matter of when, not if. And happy trails to him. He can maybe
super clutch. I just remember him being clutch, and like especially when I was younger, if he was coming to kick for the Pats, it was game over.
That was it.
That was the game.
I mean, of course, the most famous one of in the snow against the Raiders at Foxborough in 2001. Where guys were moving the snow away from him, and he buried every kick that game. In one of the worst snowstorms in playoff history.
Right.
So
and the Super Bowl wins.
And then the Super Bowl wins. Yeah, I mean, honestly, those first 3 Super Bowls. It was his leg that was the difference. The Patriots won each of those Super Bowls by 3 points.
Right.
It was almost as if they knew what plays were being called. But yeah, so congrats to him. Absolute legend. So congrats to him. So that does it for our sports section of the week. This is a fast episode. We're moving through this quick. We are rolling along.
It's good because I think my eardrum is going to explode.
Oh yeah, his ears gonna start bleeding soon because my voice is super loud. Even though we're right next to each other, I'm still super loud. Because I'm a broadcaster. That's all I know how to do is just be super loud.
Microphone technology has really advanced.
It has. But to me, I want to make sure that they can hear me next door because they might not know about Geeks Who Like Sports. As Lee leans back. What? Huh? What? You're going to ask 10 years from now to be like, so Lee, how'd you lose your hearing in your right ear? Well, let me tell you about my best friend, Ray Carcillo.
We call this ear Ray.
The Ray ear.
As in he erased my hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, dad joke.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't leave. This is a good mashup. Don't leave.
Yes. So that goes now into our mashup, which we just talked about the unwritten rules of baseball. So this week we're going to be asking about other unwritten rules, as in what unwritten rules in gaming do you wish was changed? Obviously, that's also very competitive scene there, lots of multiplayer. But Lee, I want to, because you came up with the mashup, as always, I want to get your thoughts first.
Well, I have a few, Ray. Okay. I mean, I'll go native first, not online, right? So I kind of miss the days. I mean, I go back and forth on this one. I miss the days when you only had 3 lives.
Right.
You couldn't continue because it added so much more to the game, both frustration but desperation to beat the game.
Right.
And it's kind of an unwritten rule now that we give the players as many lives as they want, as many continues as they want. So I wish they would make a game again without that. You know, that's an unwritten rule today that we have to let them go. I mean, another unwritten rule today is like, well, let's warn the player, but when they leave this area, they're not going to come back.
See, but I like that one.
I like it sometimes. It depends on the game. I'm not against it. Like you said, that's an unreal. Now online, it's got to be rage quitting. You should have to sit there and play the whole game.
Yes.
I mean, look, there are situations. The problem is like
there are some games that punish players now,
right?
But not all.
Yeah, you should be punished for that. Like play harder. I don't know. That's an unwritten rule of like I can just leave whenever I want that I don't like.
Yeah, no, I always hate rage quitters because I always stick. I take my beatings sometimes.
Yeah, you have to.
Which why when I'm beating up on somebody, like you gotta take your lumps. I guess in terms of regular gameplay, I would say sometimes tutorials.
Yeah,
I think there's too many tutorials in games nowadays. I think some of them are necessary, but I think you can cut back on some.
Well, I like what this isn't limited to this, but I kind of like what the Marvel's Avengers game did, which is they had a tutorial level that was really fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was a really fun level and like it wasn't overly tutorial, right? It was just like, okay, you get to play with all the 5 major characters, kind of quickly know what they're about, what they do.
Right.
And then we're going to move into the main storyline. And then what they did was basically if you wanted more tutorials, they have kind of a simulation fighting area where you can really dive in and perfect each character. Again, that's not limited to that game, but I appreciated that because the tutorial level was really fun, really exciting, and then we're in the game. Right. That was fun, but like ones where it's like, move forward. Good. Yeah. You've discovered how to move forward. Now, turn to the right.
Yeah. Oh God.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh my God, you feel to skip past that stuff.
Yeah. When they're games that are like look up, look down, look left, look right. I don't know anybody who can't figure out the camera controls. Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. There's that. Obviously, back in the day when you do split screen, you always had to try to make sure that nobody was sniping your screen. Those were always tough. Nowadays, with online play, you don't have to worry about that as much.
Any co-op games, like you said, that was kind of an unwritten rule that everybody followed. Well, right. I followed it.
A lot of people, not everybody. I know some folks who didn't follow that rule.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. I mean, that's like getting an 8-ball in to win or cheating to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But then also a lot of them. There's a big thing now with obviously campers, right? A lot of guys who like to camp in a lot of games. I wish that there was a way to penalize campers somehow. I mean, sometimes you can say it's good strategy to be, in certain games you need to lock down a point, right? Like if it's capture the flag or something,
that's the whole point of that game,
right? But like in team deathmatch,
don't do that.
That drives me nuts. That drives me absolutely nuts.
Chicken stuff.
Yeah. So
smart, being smart. No, you're being a coward. You're letting other people.
Right. It's one of those things that always. Same thing with
like
Smash
first,
Brothers.
Strike hard, no mercy.
Yeah. Same thing with like in Smash Brothers, like a guy who like the people who edge guard when you're trying to get back, and they make it so that you can't. You can't get back. I get it. It's like, well, don't get knocked off in the first place. It's like, yeah, but that's not really in the spirit of the game. So that's I think the thing. So like yes, I'd say campers, and definitely in terms of offline play, get rid of all the freaking damn tutorials.
This is what I always say, man. I'm not a fan of any situation that's like the 8-ball in pool. Mm-hmm. I do not take it well when I win playing pool when someone else hits the 8-ball in. I want to beat them. Yeah. And it's a technicality, and I have always hated it. Yeah. Because the game ends. And it's like I didn't really win. It's kind of like tying, right? Like you beat yourself, and like I want to beat you, I want to destroy you, right? And I want to be the one who humiliates you and lets you know that I'm the best at what I do because I'm a very competitive person and I like to win.
Yeah, yeah. So there we go. That is everything you just said is very true. But yeah, so so what do you guys think? Let us know.
We want to know what you think.
Yeah, so obviously comment below. Let us know what you guys think of what would be some of your unwritten rules in video games. What do you think of our unwritten rules? Are we just kind of being a couple of old grumpy men here, or maybe a little bit? But yeah, like let us know what you guys think. We obviously want to hear. We always love hearing from you guys. And yeah, that'll do it for episode 109. Holy cow, we survived. Lee still has most of his hearing.
Huh?
Exactly. But yeah, be sure to sign up, of course. Join our Facebook group. Pick up, buy a T-shirt if you are so inclined.
GeeksLikeSports.com.
Go to GeeksLikeSports.com for all the episodes. Subscribe wherever podcasts are heard. Of course, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. iHeartRadio, we're all over. And yeah, thank you all. Yep, that's a good one. There you go. The heartbeat. You are the heartbeat of our show.
Ooh,
we thank you
sweet.
all. We thank you all so much for listening, as always. So for Lee, I'm Ray from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We wish you all a great week, folks. We'll be back next week, back live again on Twitch, episode 110.
Don't die, Ray.
That's that meatball sub from earlier.
Yeah, he's having a good time out here.
Yeah, I am, actually. It's been a great time. And we had a great time doing this episode. We hope you guys had a great time, too. So thanks for listening. For Lee, I'm Ray. This has been episode 109 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We'll see you all next time. Good night, everybody. I think we can stop.